Oh,
Hey,
Hi, everyone.
hello. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are both of y'all doing?
We're good. How's
good.
3 minutes for everyone to just come online and then we'll start.
Yeah, absolutely. How's everyone's rotations been? What are you doing? What are you currently on? Where is everybody?
Currently on IM rotations right now.
Okay, that's important. Hey, that's really important to learn.
Yeah, I'm almost done though. I have my shelf in 2 weeks.
Okay, well,
Thank
good luck on
gosh.
your. I know you'll do great.
Thank you. Yeah.
And what about you?
Sorry, my earphones are not working right. But
It's okay.
can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
sound great.
Okay, cool. I'm on my sub-I at Pittsburgh for plastics, so having a blast. It's like 9 or actually 8 p.m. here. I think someone had asked what time it is.
hmm
And it's what, almost 7 for you, Lauren,
Yep,
or
almost 7 for me. Yeah, I'm Central Time.
okay, cool. Hello from Peru. Hi.
Hi.
Oh, awesome.
Oh,
Peru's dope.
joining us.
Okay. Is that the baby in the background? Is your
Oh, yeah.
husband putting her to bed?
Unfortunately, not so much. She had to get her some vaccines today, so she's just had a bit of a time.
Oh,
Mm,
Yeah, it's not the
no.
not the best day for a little baby.
Oh,
hmm Yeah, but he's doing his best. He's definitely being a super dad.
oh.
aw, that's awesome.
And how's your little girl?
My husband is also being super dad. Back in Arizona, taking her to and from school. She started kindergarten on Monday, so
Oh, that's so exciting! Congrats
yeah,
to her.
I know. Yeah, we're really proud of her. She's really loving it, so
Oh, and how do you feel about her going to kindergarten?
it's weird because I don't know. Like she's 5. It's weird to think that I have a 5-year-old, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh my goodness,
I
I just saw like a really long question just pop in the chat.
Yeah,
We'll have to get to that one.
yes,
I'll see.
yes.
Let me see the question.
We can get started, I guess, because it's 8 o'clock.
Okay, we can get started. Okay.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name's Lindsay Condi. I'm one of the diversity and inclusion co-coordinators for the Association of Women Surgeons National Medical Student Committee. My hometown is Wilson, New York, and I'm a fourth year medical student at University of Arizona in Tucson, applying into plastic surgery this fall. I'm also First Nations Indigenous and a mom to a 5-year-old who some of you may have caught that conversation.
Hi everyone, my name is Olivia Opar. I'm other diversity and inclusion coordinator at AWS National Medical Student Committee. I'm also from Abuja, Nigeria, and I attend Ross University School of Medicine. I'm currently in my third year as well, and I'll be applying to surgery next year. Fingers crossed.
So, I guess as part of the IG Live Diversity series, we're interviewing women surgeons from ethnically diverse backgrounds and experiences. We hope their stories inspire and encourage you, and that by highlighting these diverse voices, we can continue to increase representation of all races, ethnicities, genders, sexualities, backgrounds, and beliefs in surgical practice.
Absolutely.
With us is Dr. Lauren Catterall. She attended the University of North Carolina School of Medicine. I was also the former DNI co-coordinator for plastic surgery in March at SIU in Illinois, and she also has a beautiful baby girl Lauren just completed her first month at SIU this past July, and she's also here to tell us about her experience so far and also her journey to plastic surgery and how she's also juggling residency as a new mom. Should be any questions you may have, so feel free to drop any questions in the chat. You can put it in the chat box, the question box, so I can just see them. And thank you so much for joining us. And
yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure. You guys are phenomenal. I'm so happy to be here. Yes, anyone ask any questions in the chat, what have you, I am an open book.
Sure. So without further ado, we'll begin the questions. So Lauren, where are you from and what's your background?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Columbia, Maryland, and was raised there my entire life. I identify as Black, African American. My parents are from like DC and Ohio. So we've kind of been, my dad's been in the Midwest, my mom's been on the East Coast. I lived in the East Coast my entire life. And so this is my first time in the Midwest, and it's definitely an adjustment, but I'm really loving it here. Let's see. Yeah, I grew up when I was younger, like really wanting to do veterinary medicine, and then realized that I'm super social and love working with people and would absolutely miss that aspect if I just was a veterinarian. So kind of decided to go to med school from there. And I just always knew that I wanted to be a surgeon. To me, being a doctor, again, for me personally, meant being a surgeon. I think there are so many important and wonderful and amazing internal medicine and primary care physicians out there and emergency medicine doctors, but just I always saw myself in the operating room. So I didn't really find plastic surgery or kind of allow myself to like plastic surgery until I was almost done with my third year of medical school. I was searching for something that I just wasn't quite sure what it was. I did a lot of surgery rotations, and every time I was thinking, well, what about, you know, the muscles and the nerves and the skin that we're cutting through? And well, what are our patients' kind of goals for this procedure? And why don't we really talk to them about how their, you know, rehab course is or what they're going to be like post-op? And so we did talk about those things. But when you're operating on a gallbladder or a spleen or a liver, there's not really too much of a functional component when you're discussing with the patient, well, what is it you want to do after the surgery? Usually it's, well, I don't want my abdomen to hurt anymore. Or, you know, if it's a trauma, well, I certainly don't want to be bleeding from my spleen. So plastic surgery really filled in so many gaps in what I was looking for in my profession. And now that I'm in residency, literally every day I come home and I tell my husband, I love my job. I absolutely love everything we do. It's amazing. I see patients of all ages, all races, all types for literally any and everything. I mean, we could go from doing a free flap on someone who's been in absolutely crazy trauma to a breast augmentation or a breast reconstruction for someone who's done cancer to something small like in the emergency department. I mean, we got a consult the other day for someone who had stepped on a needle pin, like just the head of a needle, and was in their toe. So, I mean, you literally never know what you're going to get when you're on a plastic surgery service. And that's awesome to me.
Aw, you are like glowing. I love that. And I have the same feelings about plastic surgery. So hopefully next year I will be where you are.
I definitely think you will. I'm rooting for you for sure.
Oh, thank you. I guess moving on to the next question. What barriers did you encounter as a woman of color applying to plastic surgery, if any?
Yeah, so I will say first and foremost that I was wonderfully greeted by so many amazing women of color and mentors in plastic surgery. Although the community is small, I think plastics as a whole is a very small community. And then when you go within that, women of color and plastic surgery, it's even smaller. It's very close knit. And I think women are so willing to talk to you and reach out to you and support you and give you guidance. It was something that I certainly wasn't expecting to find. But now that I have it, especially I would love to just shout out to at Walk PRS. Their group was absolutely incredible and a huge space for me to find fellowship, to find guidance, to reach out to mentors. So that was amazing. I will say outside of that group, I think it can be a challenge to try and step outside of, at least for my own self, my own comfort zone, and reaching out to people who may not share similar experiences to mine, who not only don't look like me, but perhaps haven't gone through some of the things that I've gone through in life, or had to concern themselves with, well, how does this comment that I'm going to say, how might that make me look as a woman of color? I don't want to be the angry Black woman, or I don't want to be the person who's always causing trouble or always, sticking up for something. However, I think that when I have kind of approached those topics with individuals, or kind of gotten into those conversations, I've been pleasantly surprised by the feedback that I've gotten, and the kind of discussion that can be had. I'd say it definitely does take some courage on not only my part, but anyone who's wanting to do that. And it's not everywhere. I would say I've been very fortunate to have positive experiences, but I know that that's not always going to be the case. And I was actually, we discussed in my journal club last month that there was an article published pretty recently in PRS about the importance of mentorship in shaping specifically academic surgeon careers.
Yeah.
And when you look at the paper and you look at the pictures that are in the paper, there are a few women, maybe one or two, but the majority of the individuals are older white men, which I'd say it's actually very important, if you can, to kind of find those allies, those individuals who, they may not look like you, they may not have your experiences, but they're willing to support you. They're willing to vouch for you. They're willing to be your sponsor, not just give you mentorship, but then give your name out for positions and suggest you for papers and suggest you for promotions. I think it can just be a bit of a challenge, because right now, as we're learning more, there is more efforts to reach out to people of color and bring them into the fold, but it can still take a lot of effort and ownership on you to go find those individuals and put yourself out there. So I'd say that's the kind of the biggest barrier. And sometimes it could be internal, of just feeling like, you see people who are very different from you and thinking, well, I don't know if I fit in here, and having that kind of imposter syndrome or that mentality. But when you talk to people and you kind of are more vulnerable and open, I think that you'll find a lot of folks have that same feeling and are willing to be honest with you and say, I also felt that way before, or I don't know everything that's happening all the time either, but we'll get through it together. We're learning, especially as an intern. I'm learning every single day. So just do trust yourself, reach out to others, be vulnerable, and it's okay if it doesn't work. I think the worst thing you can do is not try or say anything, because if you do and they just don't respond, well, you did your best and you just move on, and that's okay.
Right. That's awesome. Also, the next question is, what resources are there for people of color who are interested in plastic surgery? So I know a lot of students, especially people of color, who want to go into plastics, but they don't really see a lot of people who look like them. They deter to something else. So what resources or advice do you have for them?
Well, I will first of all say that Women Surgeons is great. This page here is an amazing resource. So great for women of color who are interested in plastics, who are interested in surgery in general. Like I mentioned earlier, Walk PRS is another phenomenal group. I would go to their Instagram page and try to engage with their content. There's also the Garn Society, which is phenomenal as well. Yeah. And I know there's actually, if you go to the American Society of Plastic Surgeons website, they have resources that are kind of meant for individuals who are new to plastic surgery. It's not just for people of color, but I know one of their goals was to bring in more people of color into plastic surgery. I cannot remember specifically what it's called. I think it's kind of like a roadmap, I want to say.
It's, roadmaps program. There's like a whole page with contacts and everything. Yeah.
Yes, that is wonderful. And Lindsay, I believe that you participated in the mentorship kind of curriculum. I think it was like a week in California. Is that right? And it was kind of a short course for anyone interested in plastics.
The prepped program.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a weekend thing, and that was put on, I think, by UCSD, and they got money through the Plastic Surgery Foundation to kind of fund that. And actually Garden Society actually paid for us to stay in some of the hotel rooms and our travel. So there are tons of resources, as Lauren was saying.
Yes. And then, of course, outside of those that are specific to plastic surgery, I would highly recommend any medical student who is interested in, it doesn't even have to just be a surgical specialty, but follow your local group. So whether that's SNMA for individuals who may identify as Black or African American, but also you don't have to be those things to join SNMA. You can literally just participate. Or let's see, I know there's also an Asian American Society, there's also a Native American Society, there's also one for individuals who are LGBTQ. So find those groups, get involved. They usually have connections, they usually have resources. There's LMSA, which is another one. Those are all great. And outside of the actual groups, I would say go ahead and use Instagram and Twitter as much as possible. Med Twitter and I guess Med Instagram, is that what we're calling it?
Sure.
Are great resources. And you can feel free to either just put something in someone's DMs or respond to a tweet and ask for advice, ask if you can have a 15-minute call or what have you. I've gotten a lot of positive relationships that way too. People are just so much more accessible these days. And once again, the worst that can happen is they don't respond. That's okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I wonder, we do have some other questions. Should we take a moment to kind of go through some of the questions in the chat, or should we save that for after?
We can, because, okay, let's just start with the first one. So let me just start with this one. This question says, what would you recommend for non-US medical students who want to apply for a surgery residency program?
Yes. So I would say one of the things, if possible, is to try and do research time or a rotation in the United States. If you're not in the US, try to spend some time here at a program that you're genuinely interested in. So whether that's a year of doing a research fellowship or a month-long rotation, or even going on your break, whatever break that is for you in your home program, and coming here and working with someone who you just emailed and said, hey, I will be in this city. Can I work with you for, a week or two, something like that. I'd say that is super, super important and impactful, and people remember you if they can see you in person and they see you wanting to be here and they see your work ethic. If you're not able to get to the United States and you're out of the country, reach out, try to have the Zoom meetings, try to get on projects with people, find something that you're interested in that they do, that one surgeon does or that an institution does, and send the emails. Say that you're interested, give an idea maybe of something that you would like to do, some way that you could contribute to their work and help, and just try to start forming that mentorship and that bond relationship with someone at the institution. Now, I think that can also be a challenge. I know that with your schedules and when you're trying to kind of figure out how to fit that in, that can be a challenge. I would just try and prioritize that. And then of course, your own schooling and your grades and your clerkships and your rotations always come first, because they're definitely going to look at those things in your application. But right second underneath that, I would say, is that kind of in-person relationship that you can build with a faculty member or someone at the institution.
I think that's really great advice as well. Like, not even just for international medical students, but for some who are interested in a surgical subspecialty who may not have a home program.
Yeah.
So definitely great advice. There's another question I think that may have been missed. It says, do you guys feel gender affects specialty choice?
I think that it can. I don't think any of us on this call would speak for all women at all, and nor should we, but I would say that it certainly can, and it certainly can affect or influence what your practice looks like once you go into a specialty. Different specialties, of course, have different lengths of residency training. General surgery tends to be 5 years, but can go up to 7 if you're going to an institution that requires research years. Plastic surgery is frequently 6, but again, can also be 7. And so depending on that amount of time, what you'd like to do with your life, where you want to be, you certainly can be influenced that way. But I would say, if I were to give someone advice about that, if you love something and you're passionate about it, you will find a way to fit your life into that specialty. because you will be happy. I would never encourage someone to do a specialty or choose a path that they're not happy about because they think, oh, well, this will fit my life. Because your life is also your work. I don't think that there's a division between, okay, this is my life and this is my work. You're alive when you're at work and you're alive when you're at home. And you don't want to be miserable at work and just say, okay, well, maybe I'm only working 8 hours a day, but I don't really like what I do. Versus, okay, maybe you are working 12 hours a day, but you love every single minute of it.
Right.
So that would be my advice for that. That being said, I do think there are specialties, and you can look at the data on this, that have more women in them. Plastic surgery actually does a pretty good job of having a good amount of women and female representation. That being said, a lot of those women aren't in academic medicine. We're working on that, and we're working to increase the number of chairs and the number of research editors in chiefs who are women to fill those roles. But again, it is certainly something that can be a challenge. And I think that we can make that better. Not just us, but the system can make that better if we are offering childcare at institutions, if we are allowing women to take more maternity leave should they want to have children during residency or during their training. Plastic surgery specifically has done a really great job of making strides in that. I mean, currently you can take up to 12 weeks without having to extend your training, and that can be for maternity leave, again, paternity leave, what have you. And I know that not every surgical specialty has that rule and that flexibility, but plastic surgery has kind of implemented that to make it better for women who want to have children in residency. But again, even though it can be more challenging, if that's what you love and that's what excites you, you should absolutely go for it.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think this question was asked in the chat, but it's also a question I wanted to ask you as well.
Yeah.
How is intern year going? And how are you managing being a mom?
Yeah, intern year is going actually way better than I thought. That I am also like a very big, like I have a lot of anxiety is probably the best way to describe that. So going up to intern year, I was just so anxious and nervous and thinking, oh my gosh, like what's gonna happen? I don't know anything. I'm so nervous. And so actually being able to start and being your job and be a physician and have your own patients was such a relief for me from like everything that was going on in my brain, that it's been so much better than like the doomsday picture that I had in my mind. I mean, I absolutely love my residency program. I think SIU is perfect for me. It's everything that I wanted. And I love my patients here. They're all amazing. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are definitely some times where you're thinking, okay. But I just love what we do. You're certainly busy. That's not to be understated, but it feels so great to kind of be on the other side of everything you learned in medical school, everything you've been preparing for, everything you've been working for. It's finally here. And learning, I would say also in residency, is very different than learning in medical school, even as a fourth year or third year, because now like everything that you're doing is for your patients. So when I come home, yeah, I'm tired, but I'm thinking, oh, I want to look up that burn management for the person that I saw today. And we unroof those blisters, but let me see what the data is actually behind unroofing early or leaving the blisters after someone who has like second degree burns. Or someone comes in and they get a free flap and it went down and you're thinking, okay, well, I want to go home and research different methods that have been proven to prevent that from happening. So you're really excited to learn and do the research because there's a patient that you can say, I'm responsible for it, and maybe this will help me with my care for them tomorrow. And it's like that all the time. So that's been really exciting to see. And also, I mean, my co-residents are amazing. One thing that I don't know if people talked to me about when I was a medical student, we all know that residents work a lot, but when you're working with people who you legitimately care about and you share the work and you're a team, it doesn't feel as bad, like not at all. It's like, I mean, yeah, you're there till like 9, 10 o'clock, but you guys are all in the operating room together and it's like your own little party. I mean, I went into a case the other day and it was a free flap and there were a couple of residents in there and I just, in my head, I was like, this is like Santa's workshop. Everyone just has their piece and everyone's working and the energy's good and it's late at night, but like no one's upset. So I was like, I want to be here too. I mean, I wasn't even assigned to that case and I was like, I want to scrub in.
It's all about the vibe.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. And you, I mean, again, like it's like you want to take the extra call. You want to be there late because you know, well, my friend, like my co-resident, if I'm not doing this, they're doing it. So like, I want to take that off their plate. Like I want to be prepared and ready. So I think if you can find a program that's like that, where everyone's just genuinely trying to help each other out. And it's like, we all want to do this work. We're all happy to be here. It makes everything so much better. Like even the bad days are good days because you're with good people.
Aww.
Yeah, it's true. Like I just can't say enough good things about SIU.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. It sounds like you found the perfect fit.
Yeah, it really is. I love it here. Everyone should try and come here for sure. We would love to have you.
Let's see. There is a question in the chat. Could you tell us how or if being a mom impacted your residency program choice and how
Yes,
you
absolutely.
may balance your schedule? And I think we've talked about this, Lauren, but I would like for everyone else to hear this.
Yeah, 100%. So it definitely did for me. So I'm a mom and I'm also married. So for me, thankfully, my husband is very supportive of me. And that was wonderful. I mean, he gave me total free reign and said, anywhere you go, like, I will find a job, like, we will make it work. And he's also a lawyer. So he's pretty much able to find a position. It was really a question of, well, where am I going to take the bar? And so we moved to Illinois from North Carolina, which meant that he just finished taking the bar, I think 2 weeks ago. So he took the bar here in Illinois and he'll be practicing here. But I was really focused on finding a location where I could have a home that had a good amount of space. So we weren't kind of stacked on top of each other, where I had a reasonable commute to work and wouldn't be spending a long time and many hours in traffic, where I would feel comfortable raising her. And I also really like to exercise and go for runs outside and go for walks and have parks nearby. So that was also really important to me, to have a place where an area that I could, go out for a run at 4 o'clock in the morning or sometimes 3:30 in the morning before I go to the hospital and feel comfortable doing that and not, have to constantly keep my head on the swivel. So there were a couple of things that I wanted to kind of check off and were real priorities for me. So Springfield, Illinois is where SIU is, and it is the capital of Illinois, not Chicago. And literally all of those things were checked off. Like, we have a beautiful home. We live really close to a park. Our street is absolutely gorgeous. I could go for walks literally all the time, pretty much any time of day. And so that was a huge priority for me. And I would encourage anyone who's considering residency and thinking about residency programs to think about not only where you want to train, but where you want to live. And if you want to have a family, or even if you have a significant other, where does your significant other want to live? Where would you want to raise that family? Because yeah, you're going to be in the hospital all the time, but your family's not. So you want to think about what's also good for them and how they're going to grow and adjust. So just, again, something to think about.
I just thought of a question. So how do you go about like sensing the vibe of like the program or the culture when interviews are, again, virtual, if you don't have the opportunity to do a sub-I?
Yeah. So actually, me and my co-residents were actually talking about this last week, because we're also in that process of kind of planning things, and they wanted me and my other co-intern, her name is Katie, like our feedback, which is, again, another great sign. They're like, you guys just went through it. Like, what do you think? What should we do? And so I actually told them that I think it's great when, for me, I was looking for a program where you could kind of tell that the residents genuinely enjoyed each other's company. For SIU, everyone was actually in the same house. They all were in different rooms, but in the same house. So you could kind of actually see how they interacted with each other in person, even though it was virtual. And I also told them, like, I really love when you can kind of like see that people are joking, and it's not super regimented and not super structured when you're just with the residents. I think it's totally fine to have the interview day be that way, but when you're kind of having those like one-on-one sessions where there's no attendings, there's no faculty, being able to like see the jokes and see how they talk to each other and how they discuss their own program, you know, if they're smiling and they're happy and they're joking and they're, you know, comfortable in even a virtual space, I think that's a really, really good sign. I also know that there are some individuals who are not as comfortable just having a screen in front of their face. So definitely cut people some slack if they seem a little off. But those are things that I think you can still get virtually. And I mean, at least in my case, they definitely translated in person too. Like the first time I met everyone in person, I was like, oh my gosh, it's real. You guys are actually great. Just like I thought you were.
So we just wanted to ask you, how did you decide on your program, and how do you were able to rank your program like the top when you set up your rank list?
Yeah, so I definitely went back and forth. So again, like I said earlier, I'm from UNC, and I absolutely love UNC so much. It's an amazing program. We actually recently just went to the ACAPS boot camp for interns in plastic surgery in Florida. And I got to meet the two individuals who matched at UNC. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, how is it? How is everybody? How's Dr. Dammits and Dr. Wood? Like, I was asking them all these questions, like my family, how is everybody doing? But at the end of the day, I think you have to also prioritize what you think your goals might be in the future. And also, again, thinking about family, as much as I love Chapel Hill, the prices there for homes were very, very high. And I knew that was something that I wanted to be able to do. And I also wanted to try and see a different way of training and to see a different patient population and put myself in that kind of uncomfortable space of learning a whole new system and whole new practices. So I think that can be really valuable with someone who might want to just kind of explore a little bit and see how other attendings, other surgeons operate, see what they use, get some of those techniques. But of course, there's always benefits to staying at your home program too. You know it very well. You can probably continue what you've been working on. You'll certainly excel there. They know you. So those are all amazing benefits. But I would say, think about, of course, your own priorities in life. If your priority is, well, I want to be the editor-in-chief of PRS Journal, or I want to be the chair of a general surgery department, or whatever, you know, think about what your top priority is. And then look at your program list based on how they're going to get you to that priority. You know, maybe your priority is, well, I want to be a phenomenal surgeon and mother, or I want to be an amazing surgeon and I want to work with underserved populations, or I'm really interested in public health, so I want to go somewhere where I also have an MPH degree, so that was something that I also considered, like, how can I use my MPH degree? What resources would be there for that? So just really think about yourself and your goals and what you're looking for, and then look at your programs based on how they fill those goals and how they're going to get you to where you need to be.
Awesome. Solid advice. It's like 8:30 here. I know it's getting a little bit late. I think we have time for maybe one more question, and I do see one in the chat. Let's see. Did you answer any legal questions about relationships or family? Did they come up, and what are your recommendations?
I was definitely asked some. I will say this though. I was asked some, but the majority of, I don't think I got a single one that seemed to me to have an ulterior motive or to have a negative spin to it. It was all very happy. So when I was interviewing, I was actually actively pregnant and gave birth on an interview day. So I had to cancel that interview. I thought, there was a small part of me that thought, maybe I can do this in between contractions. Answer was no, I could not. I had to have my husband send the email for me as I was in bed giving birth. I was like, please send this email. So
Did
yeah,
they
it was
reschedule
definitely
though?
a very interesting time. But every single person who may have, so I think after that, like, I just got to a point where you go through something like that and you're thinking, you know, if they don't want a woman with a child, then I don't want that program. And so most people would talk about maybe something like that, but it wasn't like a direct question. And the direct questions I got, they weren't trying to interrogate me. It was very much like, oh, do you have kids? You know, like in that kind of tone, or like, oh, like what do you think about family? Or, oh yeah, I have a daughter and this is a great place to be, or something like that. Never got anything that seemed as though they didn't want to help or know because they wanted to get to know you. I'm sure that can happen, and I was extremely nervous about that. I won't say that everyone is that way, but I was surprised by the number of people who would like ask because they were trying to be kind or like wanted to know about your family, and then they kind of be like, "Oh wait, sorry, I forgot. Like that's not an okay question." But then they'd say like, "But it's fine if you do," you know, that kind of tone. It's like I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I just meant it in a good way. So, and then of course you can always volunteer information. Like if you want to share that, you can certainly bring that up. But you don't have to. And if there was ever a time that there was like an illegal question that wasn't about family, that maybe was about, you know, rank order or about like how many places you applied, those questions, I was just very vague and said, oh, no, all over the place, or I'm not really limited by these things, or, you know, I really like this school and there's like a couple of others that I'm interested in, but I'm really happy to be here today. So I think when you have questions like that, you can just kind of redirect and say, yeah, you know, I definitely applied widely. I think this specialty is very hard to get into. Literally every medical specialty is a challenge. So I think it's very reasonable to apply to multiple places and take multiple interviews, and they know that. So you can literally just say, you know, yeah, I think it's really important that I do apply broadly, and I'm really happy to be here interviewing with you. So just redirect.
Love that. Love that skill. I need to learn that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's about the end of our time.
Right.
So I just wanted to thank everyone who joined us, who popped in and out. And thanks to you, Lauren. I know you missed your daughter's bedtime, but I don't hear any crying anymore. So I think Cuddy's got it.
He put her down successfully.
Oh yes, now he can do it more, right? Now he's got this.
Yes, he does.
All right. Well, thank you again for taking time out of such a busy schedule, and we really appreciated all the advice you gave.
Yeah. Of course. Thank y'all so much, and everyone who is watching, definitely follow Women Surgeons. They're amazing. AWS is great.
Thank you so much, Lauren.
Of course. I hope y'all have a great evening.
Thanks. You too.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.